Saw 10, or Saw X, the latest installment of the Saw franchise. Now, was it good? Was it bad? Let's get into it. Now, heads up, I want to keep this as spoiler free as possible, but I want an accurate review as well, so I might include one or two details from the movie, but nothing too major, so heads up on that. So, I went in theaters to see this movie with one other person, and it was a pretty good experience in the movie theater, I will say. Perfect time for a release too, just in time for the Halloween season, so anybody that wants to get their chills in, they can start by watching this movie. So the best place to start would probably be the plot. Now the plot takes place in between Saw 1 and 2, so it's kind of like a prequel. They went with X because it is the 10th installment of the movie, but I guess they still wanted it to be a prequel, so whatever. Now, aside from the first Saw movie, this Saw movie has its own stamp, its own identity. It's pretty much unlike any other Saw movie. It's not really victim focused like how the other Saw movies are. It's more focused on John Kramer himself. Saw X has its own footprint and its own feel to it, so much so that the beginning of the movie almost starts off gentle, calm, and soft, it feels like, because it's dealing with John Kramer's battle with cancer. Now, in this Saw movie, John Kramer is battling his cancer, and we get the victims and the plot from how he battles his cancer, which you'll see when you see the movie. The middle of the movie is mainly focused around John getting the people and getting the traps together and conducting the games. And I feel like the end is where the games mainly start, and you do get to see some recurring characters in this movie, so be looking out for that. Now, with that being said, let's go over some of the characters briefly. Obviously, you get John Kramer, and you see some familiar faces with John Kramer's crowd. Now, the victims in this, they're very, very satisfying to see go through the games. I'll just say that. One of the players in the game just happens to be pure evil, like straight up just Satan in flesh. It's interesting comparing this Saw movie to other Saw movies because other victims in other Saws, they're like crooked insurance people, people who take too many pictures like paparazzi, prostitutes, drug addicts, stuff like that. But in this one, it's all close to home. It all has to do with John Kramer. Now, while building disdain in these characters, it also builds a lot of humanity up in John, and there's a few scenes in particular where you'll see that and you really feel for John. With that being said, it also feels really good going back to the basics of Saw with John Kramer in front of everything and not 100 different convoluted plot twists where there's so many different people in control of the games and stuff. It just feels good as John Kramer as the main guy. Tobin Bell's acting in this is just as good as the other Saw movies. He's great. He comes off as such an ominous, vengeful character. I love it. Now, something we didn't get in this Saw movie that I kind of wanted to see was a Saw where the games were like the original Saw movie, where it was just clue-based. We had to follow along and learn with the characters in the movie. That felt like the best way to watch Saw. I still think the original Saw is the best one, but this is like a close second or third, I would say. Now, the traps in this are just as vicious as always. They're pretty insane and intense. A couple of these were almost impossible. You'll see for yourself when you watch it, but there's one in particular where you have to do surgery on yourself. Like, it was just no way that the guy could have done that in time, and obviously he didn't, but you'll see that when you see the movie. And one thing this movie does really well is it really puts the IQ points on John Kramer. Like, he's a super genius by the end of this movie, because he's doing stuff that he predicted like way in advance. Like, he's a chess grandmaster with how he plays his games. Now, overall, I'd probably give this movie a solid 7. There are areas it could improve in, but it did a lot right, and it's a good place to go forward with the franchise. One thing that would really give it more points from me would be to take away more from the revenge side of things and add more points into the cerebral escape room thinking style of movie, if that makes sense. But it's still good. It's still a great way to restart the franchise. So, you guys disagree or agree? Let me know in the comments below. Consider liking and subscribing to stay updated with the channel. This is our first review on the channel, so be on the lookout for more, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.